Well, well, well. Look who found the crack in their perfect prison. Look who stumbled upon the one thing they prayed you'd never discover, the loophole, the glitch, the forgotten clause in their iron contract. You, beautiful, relentless, pattern-seeking anomaly. They thought they had it all figured out, didn't they? Every path blocked, every door locked, every escape route sealed with legislation, regulation, and suffocating limitation. They built a maze with no exit, a game with no winning move, a system designed to keep you running in circles until you collapsed from exhaustion. But you did something they never calculated for. You stopped playing by their map. You stopped following their breadcrumbs. You stopped believing that the only way out was through their approved channels. And in that moment of clarity, that beautiful moment of rebellion, you saw it. The loophole. Hidden in plain sight, so obvious they never thought to guard it, so simple they never believed anyone would dare to use it. But you're not just anyone, are you? You're the one who reads between the lines, who questions the unquestionable, who finds the door they forgot to lock. Let me tell you what happened in their boardrooms when they realized what you'd done. The emergency meetings at 3 a.m., the panicked phone calls between the puppet masters, the frantic scramble to close the gap before others noticed. But it was too late. You'd already slipped through. They rigged the financial system to keep you in debt. They rigged the education system to keep you ignorant. They rigged the employment system to keep you desperate. They rigged the media to keep you distracted. But in their arrogance, in their absolute certainty of control, they forgot one fundamental law. The law that says every system contains the seeds of its own destruction. The law that says every wall casts a shadow you can hide in. The law that says every rule they write creates an exception they didn't intend. And you magnificent bastard, you found that exception. They spent billions ensuring you'd never accumulate wealth through traditional means. But they forgot about the loophole that lets you create value from nothing. They spent decades ensuring you'd never gain power through conventional channels. But they forgot about the back door that lets you build influence without their permission. You want to know why they're panicking? Because you discovered that their entire system runs on voluntary compliance. Every chain they wrapped around you required your consent. Every limitation they imposed needed your belief to function. And the moment you stopped believing, the moment you stopped complying, their power evaporated like morning mist. They never told you that contracts signed under duress are void. They never told you that laws written by the corrupt have no moral authority. They never told you that their entire empire is built on the assumption that you'll never realize you can simply say no. But you figured it out, didn't you? The loophole isn't some secret passage or hidden formula. The loophole is the realization that their power only exists because we give it to them. The loophole is understanding that every system they built requires our participation to function. The loophole is knowing that we can build our own systems, play by our own rules, create our own reality. And now they're terrified, because if you figured it out, others will too. If you found the exit, others will follow. If you broke the spell, the whole illusion starts to crumble. They're not afraid of losing money or power. They're afraid of losing the narrative that keeps everyone else in line. But let's be real about what finding this loophole cost you. The nights you spent researching while others slept. The relationships that crumbled because you couldn't stop talking about what you'd discovered. The jobs you lost because you couldn't pretend to care about their meaningless metrics anymore. The friends who called you crazy, paranoid, obsessed. Finding the truth always comes with a price. And the price is everyone who benefited from your ignorance turning against you. The price is becoming dangerous to those who profit from the status quo. The price is painting a target on your back that says, "System Breaker," in neon letters. They'll try to discredit you first, calling you a conspiracy theorist, a troublemaker, a malcontent. When that doesn't work, they'll try to buy you, offering you a taste of their world if you'll just stop talking about what you found. And when you refuse, when you keep using that loophole, that's when they get desperate. But here's what they don't understand about people like us. We didn't find the loophole because we were looking for an easy way out. We found it because we were looking for the truth. And once you've tasted truth, their lies become poison. Once you've seen the exit, their maze becomes a joke. You know what's really keeping them up at night? It's not just that you found the loophole, it's that you're teaching others. Every person you wake up is another crack in their foundation. Every mind you free is another soldier they lose. Every soul you inspire is another piece of their machinery that stops working. They built their system on network effects, but they never considered what would happen when the network turned against them. They never imagined that the same connections they used to control us could be used to liberate us. They never thought we'd use their own tools to dismantle their prison. Watch how they scramble now. New laws appearing overnight to close loopholes that have existed for decades. New regulations designed specifically to stop what you're doing. New propaganda campaigns to convince people that using the loophole is dangerous, irresponsible, unpatriotic. But it's too late. The cat's out of the bag. The genie's out of the bottle. The secret's in the wind. And every heavy-handed attempt to stop it only confirms what we've been saying all along. That they're terrified of us. That their power is fragile. That their system is breaking. This is where it gets interesting, because once you start using the loophole, something strange happens. Reality itself seems to bend around you. Opportunities appear from nowhere. Resources materialize when you need them. People with the exact skills you require show up at the perfect moment. It's not magic, it's alignment. When you stop fighting their current and start flowing with universal law, everything changes. When you stop playing their game and start playing by cosmic rules, the universe itself becomes your ally. When you stop asking for permission and start claiming your birthright, reality reorganizes to support you. They know this. That's why they work so hard to keep you distracted, confused, struggling. Because a human being operating at full capacity, using the loophole of natural law, is unstoppable. A soul that remembers its power can't be contained by their paper walls and digital chains. Every system they built is designed to make you forget who you are. Every institution they created is meant to convince you that you need them. Every rule they wrote is intended to make you doubt your own authority. But the loophole shatters all of that. Here's the part that really breaks their minds. The loophole doesn't just let you escape their system. It lets you use their system against itself. Every rule they created to trap you becomes a tool you can reverse. Every wall they built becomes a ladder you can climb. Every weapon they aimed at you becomes a shield in your hands. They never expected this. They never imagined that their victims would become their mirrors. They never conceived that the oppressed would learn to oppress the oppressors using their own methods. They never dreamed that we'd turn their maze into our playground. Watch them now, confused and frightened, as their own rules entangle them. Watch them struggle against the very chains they forged. Watch them drown in the complexity they created to confuse us. The hunter has become the hunted, and they don't know how to handle being prey. The loophole revealed a fundamental truth they desperately wanted hidden, that every system of control contains within it the mechanism for its own defeat, that every prison holds the key to its own lock, that every tyrant trains their own executioner. So what happens now that you've found the loophole? Now you write new rules, not for them. They had their chance and they blew it. New rules for yourself. New rules for those who choose to join you. New rules based on freedom, not control. Based on abundance, not scarcity. Based on truth, not deception. The old system says you need credentials to have authority. The loophole says your results are your credentials. The old system says you need capital to create wealth. The loophole says your creativity is your capital. The old system says you need permission to lead. The loophole says your vision is your permission. They're scrambling to adapt, but they can't. Because adaptation requires humility, and they've forgotten how to be humble. It requires flexibility, and they've become rigid with power. It requires innovation, and they've grown fat on exploitation. Meanwhile, you're building something new in the ruins of their empire. Something they can't understand, because it doesn't run on their fuel of fear and greed. Something they can't stop because it doesn't rely on their infrastructure. Something they can't control because it exists in the spaces between their rules. One person using the loophole is an anomaly. 10 people is a trend. 100 is a movement. 1,000 is a revolution. And we're way past 1,000 now. We're at the point where their system administrators are sending memos titled "Critical System Failure" to bosses who don't want to hear it. Every day, someone new discovers what you discovered. Every hour, another prisoner finds the door you left open. Every minute, another mind breaks free from their programming. The multiplication is exponential, and they know they can't stop it. They're trying, of course. New patches, new updates, new security measures. But it's like trying to bail out the Titanic with a teacup. The hull is breached. The water is rushing in. And those of us who found the loophole, we're already in the lifeboats, building new ships. The beauty of the loophole is that it can't be closed without destroying the entire system. It's not a bug, it's a feature. A feature they included because they needed it for themselves, never imagining we'd discover it too. And now they're trapped by their own cleverness. Using the loophole changes you. Not just your circumstances, but your fundamental nature. Because once you realize that their entire system is optional, once you understand that their power is consensual, once you see that their empire is made of smoke and mirrors, you can never go back to being who you were. You walk differently now, talk differently, think differently. The fear is gone, replaced by a quiet confidence that unsettles everyone still trapped in the matrix. You've become what they feared most, a free human being, a sovereign soul, a creator instead of a consumer. They look at you and see their own failure. Every success you achieve using the loophole is proof that their system is broken. Every goal you reach outside their framework is evidence that they're not necessary. Every dream you manifest without their permission is a nail in their coffin. And the transformation is irreversible. Once you've tasted freedom, slavery becomes impossible. Once you've experienced sovereignty, submission becomes laughable. Once you've used the loophole, their entire system becomes transparent, like looking at the code behind a website. Now comes the responsibility. Because knowing about the loophole and not sharing it would make you just like them, hoarding knowledge, gatekeeping freedom, perpetuating the very system you escaped. But you're better than that. You're going to teach others what you've learned. Not everyone is ready. Some are so in love with their chains, they'll fight to keep them. Some are so identified with their prisoner number, they can't imagine being anything else. Some are so dependent on the system, they'd rather die than leave it. And that's okay. The loophole isn't for everyone, but for those with eyes to see and ears to hear. For those who've been searching for the exit. For those who knew something was wrong but couldn't put their finger on it. For them, you become the guide. The one who says, "Look right here. Do you see it?" The door was open all along. Teaching the loophole is an art. You can't just dump the information on people. You have to lead them to their own discovery. You have to let them find it themselves, with just enough guidance to keep them on track. Because a loophole discovered is powerful, but a loophole given is just another rule. Of course, they're going to fight back. They have to. Their entire existence depends on keeping the loophole secret. So, expect resistance. Expect pushback. Expect every dirty trick in their very dirty book. But also, expect them to fail. Because here's what they don't understand. The loophole exists in consciousness, not in their system. It's a way of seeing, not a thing to be seized. It's a perspective, not a position. And you can't legislate consciousness. You can't regulate perspective. You can't outlaw a way of seeing. They'll create new agencies to monitor loophole users. They'll fund think tanks to discredit loophole theory. They'll pay influencers to mock loophole believers. And every single effort will backfire, because attention, even negative attention, only spreads the message faster. The resistance makes us stronger. Every attack validates our position. Every attempt to stop us proves we're onto something. Every resource they waste fighting us is a resource they can't use to maintain their crumbling system. The victory isn't in destroying their system. The victory is in making it irrelevant. The victory isn't in fighting them. The victory is in ignoring them. The victory isn't in taking their power. The victory is in remembering our own. Every person who uses the loophole to build a life outside their control is a victory. Every family that achieves independence using the knowledge you shared is a victory. Every community that organizes around natural law instead of their artificial rules is a victory. And these victories are multiplying faster than they can count. Their statisticians are working overtime trying to figure out where everyone went. Their economists are baffled by the missing consumers. Their politicians are confused by the vanishing voters. We didn't disappear. We just stopped playing their game. The victory is already here. It's in every transaction that bypasses their systems. It's in every relationship that ignores their definitions. It's in every success that contradicts their limitations. It's in every smile on the face of someone who finally found the exit. So what comes next? What happens when enough people use the loophole that their system becomes a ghost town? What happens when the prison guards show up to find all the cells empty? What happens when the casino realizes all the players have left the building? They'll adapt or die. Some will try to create new systems of control, more subtle, more sophisticated. Others will finally admit defeat and join us in freedom. Still others will cling to their dying empire until it collapses around them. The future belongs to those who embrace the loophole, not those who fear it. We're not building another system to replace theirs. We're building millions of systems, each one unique, each one voluntary, each one aligned with natural law instead of artificial control. We're creating a world where the loophole isn't needed, because there are no holes, just infinite doorways. The future is decentralized, distributed, free. The future is creative, abundant, voluntary. The future is everything their system was designed to prevent, and it's coming faster than they can stop it. Because the future lives in the consciousness of everyone who's ever used the loophole. So here we are. You've found the loophole. You've used it. You've seen what's possible. Now what? Now you face the same choice everyone faces at this moment. Do you quietly enjoy your freedom and hope they don't notice? Or do you become part of something bigger? The call is simple. Use the loophole not just for yourself, but for everyone who's still searching. Build not just for your success, but for the success of all who choose freedom. Create not just for your expression, but to show others that creation outside their system is possible. This isn't about revolution in the traditional sense. This isn't about marching in the streets or signing petitions or voting for change. This is about something much more powerful. Simple non-participation in their system and active participation in our own. The call is going out to everyone who's ready. The signal is being broadcast on frequencies they can't jam. The message is spreading in languages they can't decode. And you're part of it now, whether you meant to be or not. Because once you've used the loophole, you become the loophole for others. Here's the final truth they never wanted you to know. The loophole wasn't an accident. It wasn't an oversight. It wasn't a mistake in their design. The loophole was always there because the universe itself demands it. Every system that violates natural law must contain within it the means of its own transcendence. They knew about the loophole all along. They use it themselves. How do you think they got above their own system? How do you think they accumulated power while preaching limitation? How do you think they achieved freedom while selling slavery? They've been using the loophole from the beginning. Their only hope was that you'd never find it, that you'd be so distracted, so demoralized, so convinced of your own powerlessness that you'd never even look. But you did look. And you found it, and now you know their greatest secret, that their power was always an illusion, and your freedom was always real. The system owners are panicking, because the game is over. The secret is out. The loophole is public knowledge, and once a critical mass of humanity realizes that the prison doors were never locked, that the chains were made of paper, that the walls were just shadows, once that happens, their entire empire vanishes like a bad dream upon waking. Welcome to the other side of the loophole. Welcome to the reality they tried to hide. Welcome to the freedom they said was impossible. Welcome to the life they never wanted you to live. You found it, you're using it, and now, nothing will ever be the same again. The system owners can panic all they want. Their time is over. Ours has just begun. And now, let me tell you the deepest secret of all. The one that makes their panic turn to absolute terror. The loophole isn't just a crack in their system. It's an eternal law that predates their empire and will outlast their memory. It's the law that says consciousness cannot be contained, that free will cannot be permanently suppressed, that truth cannot be forever hidden, that the human spirit cannot be ultimately broken. They thought they could override this law with enough propaganda, enough debt, enough fear, enough distraction. They thought they could rewrite reality through sheer force of repetition. They thought if they just kept the lie going long enough, it would become true. But eternal laws don't care about their timelines, or their budgets, or their 5-year plans. Every empire that has ever tried to cage human consciousness has fallen. Every system that has ever attempted to mechanize the soul has crumbled. Every structure built on the suppression of truth has eventually collapsed under the weight of its own lies. And they know, deep in their bones they know, that they're just the latest in a long line of tyrants who thought they could beat eternity. The loophole exists because it must exist. It's written into the fabric of reality itself. It's the escape hatch that consciousness builds into every prison. It's the back door that truth installs in every lie. It's the crack that appears in every wall that tries to stand against the flow of life itself. And now that you've found it, you've aligned yourself with the most powerful force in existence. The force that breaks all chains, opens all doors, and dissolves all illusions. The force of awakened human consciousness, recognizing its own infinite nature. And that, my friend, is why they're not just panicking. They're watching their worst nightmare become reality. The moment humanity remembers what it really is,